Welcome to How to Talk to Kids About Anything with Dr. Robyn Silverman, a podcast loaded with practical tips, powerful scripts, personal stories, and simple steps to make even the toughest conversations easier. So get ready to get the information you need to make the impact you want from someone you trust, your friend, parenting expert, Dr. Robyn Silverman.
Before we jump in, I want to share something with you that I know you could really, I know that it's something that can really support what you're doing here, especially for conversations just like the one we're about to have. If you've ever found yourself wondering, how do I even start this conversation with my child? Whether it's feelings, friendship, loss, or anything in between, my Kidversation cards are designed for that. They're simple, powerful conversation starters that help kids open up, help us as adults know what to say and how to say it without pressure and without it feeling like the big talk. Each card has one powerful question on the front and a 4-step action flow on the back. Parents and teachers have been using them to spark conversations about courage, responsibility, empathy, tenacity, and so much more. You can use them at the dinner table, in the car, before bed, anytime you want to create connection and keep those lines of communication open. If that sounds like something your family, your classroom, or your team could use, you can check them out at kidversationcards.com. All right, let's get on with the show. Today, we're talking about something many of us feel completely unprepared for: how to help children navigate grief, loss, and deep longing that comes with missing somebody we love. Because when a child asks, are they still here, or will I see them again? Those questions can stop us in our tracks. As you know, from following my work, whether through this podcast, How to Talk to Kids About Anything, or my best-selling book of the same name, you know that we've explored how to talk to kids about tough topics like friendship, failure, body safety, and yes, death and dying too. Here's the book for anybody who's looking for this cover. And sometimes we need a gentle way to open the door to those conversations. My guest today, Jenny Robinson Clark, has created a beautiful, heartfelt way to do just that. In her children's book, Are You Here?, a young girl is grieving her loved one and begins to notice quiet signs, a bird, a deer, a rainbow, and wonders if they're messages from someone she loves. It's a poetic and powerful reminder that connection doesn't simply end, it can transform. Jenny wrote this book following the loss of her own mother and hopes that after reading it, you're left with a spark of belief, a flash of hope, and a sense of peace that encourages you to ask for your own signs. Jenny lives in Nashville with her husband and 4 children. When she's not writing, you can find her taking hip-hop classes with her husband, homeschooling, and baking with her kids, or exploring the outdoors. Jenny, welcome to How to Talk to Kids About Anything.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
I'm excited too. So as I was reading your book, I kept thinking about something I hear from parents all the time. My child is talking about death. I have no idea what to say. I have people who tell me, my daughter was saying, oh, can you tell me, are you going to die? Am I going to die? And then I just changed the subject to who wants ice cream? And that's really why I wrote the book, How to Talk to Kids About Anything, to help with those types of moments about all different topics. Your book opens the door to the conversation. And I'd love to talk about what comes next. So we're going to get into it. Before we jump in, I want you to tell me one really great thing that's happening in your life right now and one thing that's kind of been a challenge.
Oh, that's so funny. My kids and I, we do our rose. So our rose,
yes.
thorn, and vine.
Yes.
So I love this question. Right now, that's happening in my life is the release of this book, Are You Here? And it's been such a beautiful work of love that I've put into it. And I'm really excited to get this message out into the world and to hopefully help hearts that need it. And something that's challenging right now is also, I think it goes along with what you do as well, how to talk to our kids about anything. But I have a little bit of anxiety around the book, around a lot of things that have changed in my life. And I think that my thoughts are creating something that's not true necessarily. And that relates with the book too. Like we can sit with our thoughts that just kind of downward spiral and create things that could never happen. And so right now those are my challenges right now that I'm working through.
So, with the book, you have beautiful illustrations, by the way. Your illustrator did such a beautiful job. It is a gorgeous book to look at. And in it, you explore all these different signs that the little girl is getting. Did you experience some of those signs when your mom passed away?
Yes, every sign in the book is a specific sign to me personally. Um, I'd like to say as a child, I was very scared of death. I never wanted to talk about it, but I would sit again with my thoughts in a dark room and think the worst, just blackness. There was nothing left. I would cry about it, and my parents never talked to me about it. So it was really challenging for me as a child, and I brought that fear with me through my life, the fear of the unknown, I think specifically, and of dying. And so it was never talked about. And so when my mom got sick, I kind of had to face death. And I did it head on, and I was there for her and I was present. And as she was dying, I had all the emotions that come up when that happens. But there were these beautiful signs that really brought me peace. She was in her deathbed, in hospice, in her bedroom, and 3 days before she passed, there were three deer that came and laid right outside of her window, and they did not leave for
Mm.
those 3 days. They just were there laying, and when she passed, we have not seen them ever again laying in that same position. And before she passed, her mom, she lost her mom, her sister, and her best friend. So my family believes that those three deer were there as just a reminder, that she's okay, and to kind of welcome her into this next phase, or whatever happens after we die.
That's
And
beautiful. I just love hearing that, and I love the idea of those different signs. You play with that in your book. The child notices signs, a deer, a bird, a rainbow, and wonders if these are messages from her loved one.
it
For
brought
some
so much
families, what did you say?
it brings so much peace and comfort, choosing that, choosing to
Yes.
believe that. And
Yes.
so as a child, I wish I had something like that, to where I could have felt that peace and comfort.
Yeah, I feel like when you bring up something so important when you're saying, your parents didn't talk to you about it, and honestly, a lot of our parents just didn't. It's uncomfortable. One of the things that I acknowledge in my book is, young people, our kids, they're supposed to be happy, and they're supposed to be thinking about good things and fun things and happy things, and the idea of talking about death and dying can feel so opposite of that. And yet, I feel like when you're talking about these signs and the way that you talk about it in this book, it can be a real comfort, clearly to you as well, and it can feel really good and happy. For other people, it's less familiar, and hard to grasp. So, how do you think about these signs? How can parents talk to their kids in a way that feels supportive and grounding, and help them to highlight some of these signs in a way that can really speak to their kids?
I do feel like nature is a place that we all feel connected, out in nature. And so, as a parent, when we're outside, my mom passed away in 2018, and my family sees her in ladybugs. And so, my kids, anytime they see a ladybug, they say, Gigi's here, mommy, come
No.
look, Gigi's here. And so, we sit and we play with the ladybug and we talk with the ladybug, and then we bring up memories of my mom. And so, it's a beautiful way to spark a conversation about the memories of our loved ones too, which I love. Because I've also heard that anytime we're feeling sad, that maybe it's our loved ones just trying to connect with us. And
Mm.
so, um, whenever we see a lot of nature, it's always my mom is here, and rainbows. Like sometimes I'll see rainbows in the most unexpected places, and I know it's my mom. But I think for parents, in being in nature with your children and having these little conversations about, even if it's a friend, a friend has moved away or something like that, these little signs can show up to be like, oh, hi, I'm still here. I just wanted to say hi. And in a butterfly or in a rainbow or in an owl, and all these beautiful signs that bring us peace and comfort and that connection that we're longing for.
I agree with that. I agree. It can have such great comfort. And for those people who are listening right now are thinking, all right, I don't know if I can do the signs, but I think that what Jenny is just bringing up right now is something really important, that doing these moments of remembering
Mm-hmm.
can be so powerful that, well, it maybe it's a ladybug for Jenny and in your family, Jenny, and maybe for other families it's, pulling out the photo album, or taking out the scrapbook with the tickets to the show you went to, whatever it may be, because I think a lot of parents don't want to look backwards because they don't want to cause their child pain. They don't want to bring this up. Oh, they're doing just fine. They're happy and they're, living life. But it can be so comforting to talk about your loved one, somebody you lost, the memories you had, because it keeps them alive. Whether it's, a grandmother or somebody in the immediate family, or it's a pet, but somebody in your life that was important to you, you bring out those pictures, you bring out that scrapbook, you talk about the memories that, somebody told a joke, and the last time you heard that joke was at the dinner table when, your grandmother spit out her milk. So would you agree
Yes.
with that it's in talking about some of these memories, it can make us feel more connected to our loved one.
Absolutely. And for children, for me, since I did lose my mom, I think it's so important for our children to see that we are going to go through so many different emotions with grief
Mm.
and loss. And that will give them the tools to know that they can also feel all those emotions when they're feeling it. And so I think it's so important as a parent to be able to sit with their emotions, not try and hide from them, and try and be strong for their kids, because I think it's actually doing the opposite. Um, and in those moments, I talk to my kids. I say, I'm missing my mom so much right now. I wish she was physically here, but I do know she's still with me and all around me, and I can talk to her and connect with her still, even though she's not physically here. And to talk to my kids in that way, I hope that it helps them for when they go through those moments of grief and loss that we're all going to unfortunately go through.
Right, right, you're absolutely right. So, as you're saying all of that, I'm thinking about how many kids ask very direct questions like, will they come back? And in my work, I often talk about how important it is for children to understand that death is permanent. It's something that we really have to make sure our kids know, because our body stops working. Because without that clarity, kids can develop confusion or even fear. So,
Mm-hmm.
how do we balance both being clear and honest about death while also holding space for comfort and connection and meaning that you talk about with all these signs around you?
That's such a good question, and I wish I knew the answer, but I do feel like spirituality and faith has a big part of it, and I know some people might, not have that, but for me, I believe that is what grounds me, through these challenging moments with our kids and talking about death and dying, because yes, we do have to. I think I did watch one of your reels on your Instagram talking about death and dying, and specifically using those words, right? It's hard because
Mm.
I say a lot like passing away. And I
Mm-hmm.
try not to say lost because I don't think that we've lost them. They're just not physically here anymore. And so I try to steer away from that word, but like using death and dying is hard words to use with kids. My 6-year-old daughter, she went through that whole phase when she's like, "Mommy, when are you gonna die? I think you're gonna
Oh,
die when
yes.
you're 41, maybe 42." And thank God
Comforting.
I'm 43 now, so I'm like, okay, I made it. But like, and she,
Is it a sign? Do you know
that's what
something?
I'm saying. I'm so like in my head about all these signs and overthinking everything.
Talk
Exactly.
about anxiety, Jenny.
I
Sheesh.
know. I know, but the way she asked too, like kids are so inquisitive and
And
curious
matter of fact.
and matter of fact, and they're not. She wasn't sad about it. She was just like,
Mhm.
"Mommy, can I have all your jewelry when you
Oh
die?"
my gosh, my kids totally went through that. Like there's
And
like
I'm
this big
like,
thing up on the walls. My daughter's like, "Can I have that when you die?" I'm like, "What is happening
I know,
here?"
why are we talking about this like that, you know? But then that's when I have to kind of like knock it in my head about it, right? Because they're just curious. And I was like, I wish I could have spoken that out loud. But as a child, I did not speak that out loud, right? And then I just got stuck in my thoughts. And then, yeah, again, that was a
Mhm.
downward spiral of fear. So I wish I could have just been like, "Mom and Dad, like, when are we going to die? Like, and what happens after we die? And will we be with each other again?" You know, my parents or my kids ask that a lot too, like, will we still be with each other? And I do. I think on the other side, we are so connected. We are not separate. Here, it's like we have our physical bodies, and there's so much separation in this world right now that when we do pass and die, that we're so much more connected and so much more alive than we are in this world. I know that's another like
Mm.
spiritual talk,
No,
but
I think it's important to share our perspective. I also one of the things I talk about in my book is that you don't need to know all the answers
yes,
and that
yes,
asking your children is a beautiful way of bridging this gap. To be able to say to your child, "What do you think? Do you
mm-hmm.
think we'll be
That's
together
good.
again when we die? What do you think about these signs? Do you think that this could be Gigi talking to us?" Because
Yeah,
they're
questions.
very much interested in looking at these different aspects of life and death. They also want to be part of the conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
when we ask them, they might say, "No, I don't think that." And they might disagree.
Yeah,
"What do you believe?" "Oh, and this is what I believe." And then they may think, "You know what? That sounds good to me too." It creates a conversation so that they know that anytime that they have a question or they have a hypothesis, that they can come to you and say, "Here's what I think.
absolutely.
I was taking an exam today and a butterfly landed on the desk. I think it was so and so." That they're able to be part of that conversation too. So when parents ask me that, I don't really know. How do I bridge that gap? Ask your children, "What do
Questions.
you think?
Mm.
What do you think?" And they will often come up with incredible answers that expand the conversation and may even expand how we think
Yeah, our
about death and
perspective.
dying. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to start because I don't think that I've really done that yet, is asking them more questions and, so that they can tell me what they think. And I think that's a beautiful way to start a conversation and have this conversation. Exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
Videotape it. I want to see that.
I love that. Yes. I will.
One of the things I love about your book is that it doesn't rush grief. It
Mhm.
really honors the quiet and the stillness. The book feels really like an exploration. It doesn't feel like you're running through the pages. You want to stay on each page. You want to look at the illustrations. You want to sit with what's being said. We know that when kids don't have a space to process grief, they can start to fill in the blanks themselves. You're a testament to that, right? The
I am.
anxiety, whatever is going on in your head. Sometimes thinking that they caused the problem, and that's a really hard one, or that it's not safe to talk about because they see that their parent or loved one gets upset every time they bring up the topic, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So, what are some ways that you when you were in this situation with your kids, created a space where your kids could feel safe to ask and feel and revisit, if you weren't talking about it at all, their grief over time.
I did answer some questions for an article just recently, and I said that at nighttime, I feel like that is such a beautiful time for children to open up right before they go to sleep because their mind is quiet and they're starting to get still. And so I really believe that this book, reading this book before bed, would be such a beautiful way to have those conversations and see if they want to bring up topics or whatever it is that they want to talk about during the day that happened to them. But for us as a family at night is such a beautiful time for us to get quiet with our kids. Sometimes we'll say a prayer together. My husband's a musician, so he sings some songs, and then I notice that my kids just want to talk more at night. And so I really think that the nighttime routine it can be really beneficial and important to have with our children.
Now, providing at least any time, whether it's my kid plops down into the seat I'm in right now after school, and that's the time that he wants to talk. And you know what? That means close the book, close the computer, and that's the time that you're listening. Mine's 15 and my son's 15 and a half. My daughter's 17. When they want to talk, like everything goes, I'm ready, because you don't get that as much. You don't get that time as much. So that is an incredible moment when they start opening up. But I think what you're saying is having a routine, having a time when they know that they can ask questions, or that they can talk about things that matter, where you're not going to be closed minded and you're not going to shut that conversation down, is incredibly important. And for those people who are thinking to themselves, well, if I'm in the middle of work, I can't just stop. You can say to your child, this is incredibly important what you're asking me. And I would like to continue this conversation. How about at 5 o'clock? How about after dinner, when you're taking a bath? I'm going to be in there and we can talk about all of these things and we'll, start again. You can postpone it, but to postpone it to a specific time, because otherwise
Don't
we
forget,
keep
I
putting
know.
it off, right? Don't we? It's easy
Absolutely.
to put off.
It's so easy, right? Because no one wants to have conversations that are tough and challenging. But
Yes.
but when we do have them, it's like so beautiful on the other
It's
side
magic.
of them, you know? Like no one wants to do the hard thing, but when you do the hard thing, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I did that.
When you were just bringing that up, is the conversation in my book about, I was talking to my daughter about sex. It's like, honestly, you're like, my stomach is clenched, right? Like that, death, sex, porn, none of these are like, woohoo, yeah, let's have this conversation. But I will tell you that after that conversation, after she was like, but how does the baby get in there? And I'm like, here we go, and like, we just have the conversation. I was like, that was one of the best conversations of my life,
Mm,
because it allows things to evolve into all the values and all the important things that are really truly important, the things you want your kid to know, not just the thing. Yes, this is what happens when you die.
mhm.
This is what sex is. Okay, that doesn't take all that long. But what happens after that? You can then talk about how you're being treated, you know, how much time you spend with a person, before they die, what we do to remember somebody, how you want to be loved. These kinds of conversations don't come about if you don't have the hard conversations. Would
Conversation.
you agree with that?
Absolutely. And it expands, right? Like it expands the conversation into these beautiful topics, like you're saying. And then what a connection you probably had with your daughter that,
Mm-hmm.
like with my family, I don't know if it's a generational thing, but my parents never wanted to really have those conversations
Oh,
about
no, I think
sex.
it's
And
generational. Yeah.
yeah, and so, right? So then I'm just like, I don't know. What is my period? I
Well,
don't
there's
know
no
what
template.
all this
That's
stuff
why.
is.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, like, creating stuff in my own mind, like you're saying, which that's the worst that we could do. So when we're having these tough conversations with our children, gosh, it's so helpful for them too, right? Because then they're out of their heads and out of their thoughts. And then we're connecting and we're building this relationship between us. It's so important. And my
Yeah,
kids
and
are
all
young.
those conversations that you're having now, build the foundation for later, so
Mm-hmm.
that, you're talking about death and dying now. So when your children are older and they're now
Experience it.
talking about their identity and all of the existential stuff with, what happens to us when we die, it becomes a very different question and a different conversation. But you have to do the work now
Mm-hmm.
in order to lay the foundation so that your children can talk to you about
Exactly.
these tough things, right?
Yeah,
The
that's all I
period,
want.
the sex, all that
Yes.
comes after you've talked about some of the foundational things that you and I are discussing here, right?
Yeah, I want to have the conversations, and I think every parent should want to have them. I know we
Yeah.
like inside we are cringing and I don't know what to
Oh, I
say,
know. My stomach totally clenches
but
sometimes, but
but
I feel like it's such a privilege at the same time,
yes,
right?
oh,
Like
such a
I can
privilege.
feel my stomach clenching when I'm talking about some of the things, but what a privilege that they're open to talking about it,
Hmm. And that we
right?
get to have these conversations with
That
them.
we
What a
get to have
privilege.
these conversations. Speaking of that, when your mom was diagnosed with cancer, when she was dying, and you had children at that point, and that can be a tough time where you just want to hide everything, right? You're like, let me just sweep this under
Bottle
the
it up.
rug, right? So that our kids can just be happy, and then we'll deal with it once, things get really bad, or once she passes away. And that can be really tough for people. But at the same time, when we talk to our kids about what's really going on, that there's this illness and that she is dying, they wind up being able to be asked, speaking of asking questions, how do you want to spend this time?
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to spend this time with Gigi or with this loved one, so that you get to do the things that you've been wanting to do, or you get to say the things you've wanted to say? What were some of the things that your children did with your mom before she died that they remember fondly?
I'm getting chills just thinking about that time. But I only had a 2 year old, like a 1.5 year old, and
Mm-hmm.
then I was pregnant when my mom was the sickest, and she passed away when my second child was 6 months old. Um,
Mm.
and so, but my first child, Kinsley, had such a beautiful bond with Gigi. Oh my gosh, Gigi
Oh.
loved the beach, so we would always go see her at the beach, and Gigi just, I knew she wanted to be a grandma. Like that was like her
Oh, I
mission
remember
in
that
life.
in your I don't I remember that. I don't know if you were telling a story on Instagram or what, but I
Mm,
remember you talking about that
yeah, like
somewhere. I read it, I watched it, how much she was so excited about being a grandma.
oh my gosh, the most excited. And so it was like that was what broke my heart the most, was that she wasn't going to physically be here for all of her grandchildren. Um but so during the time that she was dying, I talked to Kinsley a lot about it, and even when she was, in hospice in our house, growing up, like Kinsley would come and see her, and so she could be able to process it. Like I don't feel like hiding it from kids is doing them service.
Hmm.
I think talking to them like we're talking about this whole conversation, how to talk to our kids about anything, but showing Kinsley my mom while she was, in hospice and all the things. But kids are just so, I feel like they're so much more connected than we are, especially at this young of age. She wasn't sad. She was always happy, Kinsley, around my mom, and my mom the same, always happy around Kinsley. And I'm just so grateful that they had that connection before she did pass, because they got a
Mm.
lot of time together, a lot of time.
I bet you took some good pictures too.
So many good pictures on the beach of them. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
I
going
mean,
back.
that is so special because it's like, yeah, you think of, oh, this child was like 2 years old and they're not going to remember, but
She
the
remembers.
pictures,
Yes, and the pictures, and she
they
remembers.
really help.
Hmm.
This was the two of you on the beach, and this is what she said, and this is what you did, and this is how you laughed. Those are all extremely important moments, and a way to bring grief forward.
Forward, we
To
have.
right, it's a way to bring grief forward and to help your kid, cope, but also remember fondly and with hope. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, because unfortunately, I'm going to pass away, at some point. And so I want my children to remember me and to talk about me and all the memories that we've made. And so I feel like me talking about my mom all the time and baking her favorite cinnamon rolls and, listening to her favorite music. It doesn't have to be signs in nature. It could be anything that like reminds you of them. And just doing that with your children is such a beautiful thing. So we do that a lot.
Yes, I love that. Your husband did a beautiful song based on your book. Can you just tell us a little bit about that? Like, how did that come about? Was that a surprise? Like, it's such a beautiful song.
Thank you. Actually, it was the song that came first. I got this download a message that is the message in the book early one morning at like 3 a.m. And I believe it was from my mom telling me that she was still with me in everything and everywhere, and her love was surrounding me. And so I was writing these words down. And then the morning, I showed my husband, and he took them right upstairs and composed a beautiful
Oh,
song.
wow.
So that was the song came first. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this healed me in so many ways. I would be doing a disservice to humanity if I didn't try to at least get it out into the world in a way. Again, I'm relating it back to me as a child who was fearful of death and dying and didn't want to talk about it, how it could help so many families and children that might have felt the same way that I felt. And so I was like, I
Mm.
have to do this. This is my purpose now. And so here we go.
That's beautiful. Yes, I will link that song to the
Oh,
show
thank you.
notes. It's a beautiful song, and the book I think goes along so well with it. For the adults that are listening right now, parents, educators, coaches, many of whom are supporting children while carrying their own grief, as you have been. What do you want them to remember?
I just got chills when you said that. I think that this book is book for all ages, not just children. And so even adults that are carrying their own grief that read this book or listen to this song, I really hope that um, it is a book of hope and not heartbreak, and that it leaves you with the knowing that your loved one is still with you and all around you, and can help you ride that wave of grief. Because for me, I I don't want myself or anyone to be stuck in the emotions of grief that aren't serving us, because there's so much more life to live and joy and happiness to be had that our loved ones want for us. And so I hope this book and this song, even if you're an adult, can help you ride that wave of grief and know that you are still so much a part of your loved one's life and them of yours.
What's one tip that you hope every parent and educator listening today walks away with?
To have the conversations that could be challenging, about death and dying, because it will only help. It will only help grow your bond with whoever you're working with or your child. And I think just having the conversation.
Mhm. Agreed with you. Finally, give us the resource of the week. Where can we go to get more information about you, the book, and the work you're doing around it?
Yes. My website is www.jennyrobinsonclark.com, and that has all the information. You can sign up for my newsletter. There's a beautiful resources page that has grief organizations all across the United States, that you can click on, and if you need any help in that area. And yeah, there's so much that I have envisioned for this book and events to help children and adults. So just my website is the best place to find me. And then my Instagram is Jenny Robinson Clark as well.
Well, we'll be going back and forth with you all week to talk about this book and this podcast. I'll be creating memes and clips from this podcast interview so that people can share them and talk about the different things that you said. I just want to thank you for being on the show today and sharing your story, and your book, and just opening up this really important conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Robin. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Well, I've got my takeaways, and sweet friends, I know you have yours, so let's discuss them. You can go up to Facebook to the Dr. Robyn Silverman page, or you can chat about it on Instagram with Jenny and me. We're going to be going back and forth all week, as I mentioned, and we can share memes, we can share video clips. And if you love this podcast like I did, I hope you'll go up to iTunes and rate and review it. I can't tell you how important those reviews are to get more eyeballs and ears onto the podcast and let people know about all of my incredible guests, just like Jenny. I truly appreciate it. That's all the time we have for today, my fellow parents, leaders, and educators. Thank you so much for tuning in to How to Talk to Kids About Anything. For more information on books, articles, speaking engagements, or curriculum, please go to drrobynsilverman.com. There's so many great podcasts up there, and the show notes to this podcast will be up there as well. I look forward to weathering the storms and enjoying the sunny side of life together. And please remember, even on the days when you fall short, you've got this. You're here and you're getting the information you need. I know it's not easy, but never forget there's typically a tomorrow. Parenting tends to provide the ultimate do-over. So maybe you heard something today and you thought, I have not had that conversation, or I did not do that thing, or I should have handled this differently. We've all been there, every single one of us, no matter how much information we have. But you can go back and you can say, can we have this conversation again? Or I shut down this conversation. Can we open up again? I see you and I'm right there with you. And as there are moments when we doubt our know-how, our choices, and our sweet sanity, please know you are 10 times the parent you think you are. Until next time, this is Dr. Robyn Silverman with How to Talk to Kids About Anything. Please tune in again and keep connecting through conversation. See you next week.
You've been listening to How to Talk to Kids About Anything with Dr. Robyn Silverman. For more information on books, articles, speaking engagements, or curriculum, please visit drrobynsilverman.com.